So for my 6th birthday on August 31st, 2001, my parents gifted me a newly released Game Boy Advance, along with a copy of Pokemon Gold version. I put in literally hundreds of hours into this one game. While the Pokemon series are often considered light versions of real RPGs, I fell in love with the concept of putting in hours on hours into one team of characters that would stay with you through your whole playthrough. As I got older, I moved on to more traditional styles of RPGs, but I always found myself gravitating more towards the action or tactical-oriented titles. As I've grown even more, I've always tried to go back and fully play through new, old-school style RPGs, but there's always something missing that makes me want to play the titles with more novel to their gameplay. I'm sure hardcore fans of the genre will say it's alive and well, but aside from a few semi-popular titles in the last decade, it looks like the traditional turn-based JRPG style of game is becoming a thing of the past. If there is a saving grace for this genre, it looks like a savior might be just over the horizon. A demo for the upcoming Project Octopath Traveler has been on the eShop for just about a week now, and I'm here to give you my thoughts on every second this demo had to offer. Over the last decade, I think it's become apparent that this style of games doesn't necessarily need to have top-of-the-line graphics. Spectacle is a major factor in games like this, but through the Final Fantasy series, we've seen that presentation doesn't completely reflect on substance. Project Octopath features 16-bit sprites similar to older games, but was actually built in Unreal Engine 4 to give it a more modern HD look. The developers of the game have dubbed the style HD 2D, and I don't think there's any better way to describe it. Working between 2D sprites and a 3D world really gives this game another layer of atmosphere usually missing from 16-bit titles. The transition between a dimly lit building to the city outside feels like you're actually stepping outside. I actually had to rub my eyes a little bit after stepping out of a catacomb section of the game to the outside world. As you ascend a mountain with the warrior character, the clouds get thicker and you can almost feel the chill in your bones as you climb in altitude. When you reach the cave featuring the final boss of the demo, it feels like you're really stepping into a mountain cave, mostly due to the 3D mist and fire effects that allow your brain to see past the 16-bit sprites. While the actual character models and landscapes in Pokemon Sun and Moon look super crisp compared to anything you'd see in this game, Project Octopath definitely did a better job of creating an atmosphere and immersing you in it. Although the sprites are 16-bit, each character model is very distinct, and they're very well animated even in battles. One thing I was sort of skeptical about was the huge boss battle sprites, but by the second boss, I was sort of into it. It makes the boss feel a lot more powerful, which they definitely are, as well as just adds another layer of originality to the title. The battle system also does a lot to make this title feel new and original. The HD 2D presentation is continued here with all the glorious lighting and environment effects, as well as a super dynamic camera angle. One of the things that made Golden Sun one of the best RPGs of all time was its different approach to the battle screen. Yes, it was the same turn-based RPG battle system we were used to, but the shifting, over-the-shoulder camera angle was what gave the game a new polish that we'd never seen before. Octopath still has the landscape view we're used to from modern RPGs, but the bouncing camera angle along with the 2D HD effect really makes the battle system a lot more dynamic. I relate this theory to the change in cinematography seen in comedy TV shows in the last 10 years. It's like going from the cookie-cutter sitcom filming style of Friends to something like The Office or Parks and Recreation. Both styles of shows are funny and great, but the gonzo filming style of the latter two really makes for a more dynamic watch. This is the same for the game when comparing it to an older title like Final Fantasy VI. The gameplay is roughly the same, but the way in which it's presented makes the experience feel fresh and new. The presentation isn't the only thing that makes this battle system feel dynamic though. Bravely Default introduced a new mechanic to this age-old battle system with the inclusion of Brave Points. Any character could choose to default in this game, which is essentially a block that would also reward you a Brave Point. You could save these Brave Points up so that you could move multiple times on any character within one turn. This added a whole new layer while still sticking to the tried and true turn-based combat. The problem with this system though was in the complication. You could borrow Brave Points in exchange for future turns, and each Brave Point could be spent on any type of action, even things like using items. Project Octopath features a similar system, but with a lot more simplicity. At the beginning of each turn, your party will gain a boost point no matter what. You can hold up to 5 boost points if you don't use them, and you can only use 3 per turn even if you have more. The other difference between these and Brave points is that you can only use boost points to use your standard attack multiple times. There's no option to use an item or ability, just to attack with your main weapon. While this might sound like a dumbed down version, it actually feels a lot more refined and less diluted with trivial decisions. Another great change here is the break system. Each enemy you face has a number of different known or unknown weaknesses depending on if you've fought that type of enemy before. Their weakness is only revealed once they're attacked by something they're weak to, and this is also where the break system comes in. Not only do weaknesses cause an enemy to take more damage, but they can also be broken down and stunned for a turn. As an example, during Oberek's last boss fight, the main boss has a 6-hit shield. I found out that the boss's weakness was to polearms. In one turn, I used 3 of my boost points to attack him 4 times in total with my polearm, knocking his shield down to 2. I then used 1 boost point on my next turn in order to attack him 2 times, which knocked his shield out. This stunned the boss for a turn while also greatly lowering his defenses, which set me up for an extra strong polearm based ability. It doesn't sound too different from traditional turn-based RPGs, but the boost and break system really gives this game an edge I haven't found in a lot of games like this. It feels very fast-paced, especially when coupled along with the simple UI and menu system. It's still turn-based, but it moves almost at the pace of an action RPG. It was actually pretty addicting and really made me want to play more. The last aspect of this game I want to touch on is its story. The reason most of us fell in love with these type of games is the heart-wrenching drama that's usually involved with them. Looking back at some of the greatest JRPGs of all time, the stories were definitely compelling, but you can tell a lot of them sort of had generic premises that would be easy enough for the average 12-year-old to follow along with. While I'm sure parents are still buying their kids RPG games, it seems like the younger demographic has been shifting more towards, dare I say, microwave or fast food type of games that'll give you a quick boost of endorphins. Heck, I'm only 22 years old, and I feel like I'm the minority of game fans my age that still enjoy RPG games, so I can only imagine what this next generation of gamers is going to gravitate towards. I say this to point out that the target demographic for games like this is not the same as it was when most of these legendary RPG titles came out. I think Project Octopath definitely recognizes this and tries to present a story that's as grown up as its current demographic. Oberek the Warrior is a retired knight currently living in hiding as the armsman of a small mountain village. His transition from a devoted knight to father figure, or kind of a role model for this village, is very detailed from the opening cutscene into the intro of his story, and the writing does a really great job of painting a picture of who this man is. Instead of the standard, ambitious, overly confident young character we're usually presented with in JRPGs, we're shown an old man past his glory days who has to deal with his regrets and figure out where exactly he fits in the world. Where the game really brought in these adult themes though was through Primrose. I played Primrose's story first for, well, reasons, and I was completely blown away. Primrose was the princess of a now fallen kingdom and watched her father be murdered by 3 men with distinct tattoos. She knows that the men make rounds through a certain desert town, so she goes there and finds a job in a sort of brothel/pub type of place. She waits here for years, enduring much verbal and physical abuse from the brothel owner, who's actually the main boss at the end of the intro. One of the 3 men who killed her father finally shows up one fateful night, so Primrose tries to follow him. The man gets away, but the club owner finds you trying to leave, so he slices your best friend's neck open and lets her body drop from a cliff right in front of you. I'm not saying that every game needs sex and violence to be interesting, but exploring these adult themes made me feel like I was watching a great anime or even something like Game of Thrones. These themes, along with the bilingual voice acting, really made all the story sections in this game shine. I can't tell you how bad I wanted to get revenge on that slimy club owner after he kills your friend and tells you you're nothing but a whore. It was real emotion and really set the story up to be AAA quality. In a genre that feels stale due to an oversaturation for the past few decades, Project Octopath Traveler looks like it could be the next monumental release for the genre. With a dynamic new battle system, wonderful presentation, and a story that had me hooked even after just a couple hours of gameplay, this game could be the thing to revitalize a mainstream interest in this type of title. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the demo if you played it. There's not a lot of talk about this yet, and I feel like I'm the only one who's as excited as I am. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to my channel for the latest Switch content available. This is Max from Max Culture, and thank you so much for watching.